Okay, hello, welcome to the fastest way to recover from cancer webinar. And today we're going to be talking about um, basically mine and Stephen's story around cancer because we both had cancer and we both recovered, obviously. We're still here. Um, so I'm just going to start with my story, just going to get straight into it, and then we'll start building on educating you guys on how to recover from cancer and then talking about, so about 15 minutes into this webinar, we've actually got like a really special gift for you and a surprise where you can actually join on something and help yourselves recover from any cancer trauma that you've been through. So if you've got that time to spare, we do really want you to stay on the webinar that long so we can help you on your path to recovery as well. So we've got a bit of a gift for you with that as well. So I'm just going to start with my story. And basically, my story is I had testicular cancer when I was 30 years old. I remember waking up one day, just kind of doing a routine check, playing with myself in the shower a little bit. Nice. And I found a lump on my left testicle, which was obviously really alarming to me. So I basically went to the doctors. I had like second opinions, third opinions, because obviously I didn't want to lose a testicle. It wasn't something I really, felt like wanting to happen to myself. And, it's awful to kind of, I had a lot of trauma after that as well, which I'll go into it in a second. But when I found the cancer, it wasn't until about 2 months later that I discovered it was cancer. And then I was told I had to have a testicle removed. And it was New Year's Day when I actually got diagnosed that I had kind of like a 4 centimeter tumor that was growing within my testicle, and it'd been there probably like 6 months. Apparently, I didn't even know about it. So obviously, I'd urge anybody to keep testing, checking themselves and testing, because you don't know it's there initially. It's a very slow grower, that one. And when I had my operation and the chemotherapy, I was pretty much advised to eat things like crisps, milkshakes, ice cream, all these foods that I always kind of knew that weren't that great for me. I was being advised to eat these things as part of my recovery plan, which I found really strange. So obviously having a background in nutrition anyway, because I was probably about 10 years into my fitness career at that point, I obviously just threw that in the bin and I didn't want anything to do with that kind of protocol. So this is one of the big reasons why we create this program, is so everything we've experienced in the last 5-10 years in terms of recovery, because Stephen's story is a lot older than mine. He was 23 when he had cancer, which he'll share in a second. Everything that we've kind of learned and experienced, we put into a protocol for ourselves, and also we want to share this with other people. So I went back into the gym after my operation and after chemotherapy, and I couldn't even do like 5 press-ups. I was so demoralized. I didn't really know where I was going with my career anymore. I started to get depression. I started to eat badly because I felt like I was in this downward spiral all the time. And to be honest, even though I was advised to eat these foods and I knew that wasn't the right things to be eating, I still kind of was eating that kind of stuff because I just felt so kind of down. And you get in this downward spiral because everything's sort of linked, your mindset, how you feel, nutrition. So I just thought enough's enough, and I went in search of a recovery plan that suited me in terms of nutrition, because I didn't want to go too strict long term, because I don't think that's very healthy for me, because I've tried that before and I started to develop some very strange eating patterns where I kind of just wanted to eat like ultra clean, very low calories all the time, but I started to get weak. So we'll talk about that as well in the nutrition. And also I started taking CBD for anti-inflammatory effects as well, and some other protocols which we're going to go into. But that's kind of my backstory with cancer recovery. Is testicular cancer, had to go through a horrendous operation, chemotherapy, and just left me a little bit kind of clueless and a little bit lost as to what I'm supposed to do then, because I've never been in that position of weakness so much. And I think, that was only kind of a basic operation. Like Stephen's story is a lot more sort of complex to mine. So I'm going to hand Stephen over, and he's going to explain his story as well. And it's a completely different version. So.
Yes, I didn't find mine in the shower. So yeah, thanks, Greg. So yeah, I'm Stephen, and my story a little bit different to Greg's. Still a cancer story, but about 13 years ago now, when I was 23, I had really bad gut problems. Got rushed into hospital, and they thought I had an appendicitis, so I had the appendix out, which was quite dangerous in itself. But when they took the appendix out, they found 2 tumours. So it was a Burkitt lymphoma, which is quite an aggressive form of cancer. It's above the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma on the list. And I remember, being told that I would have to have intensive chemotherapy to sort this problem out. So you can imagine being a fitness enthusiast and doing kickboxing and training every day and, eating, not like I do now, but eating okay for the time. It was quite a shock to me and my family. So it was quite a traumatic time to just receive that kind of information for a start. Never mind going through the next year of treatment and what have you. But the operation was basically taking a bit of the bowel out and taking the tumours out, obviously the appendicitis. So I was really struggling with the pain afterwards. But then when we started the chemotherapy, that's when it really got interesting, because the weight loss which was phenomenal, not being able to eat properly. I got a couple of blood infections while I was in there, so you had to have a full blood transfusion, which was quite scary in itself. And over a year period, I lost about 4.5 stone. So I think I was about 14 stone, which is what I weigh about today at the time. And then going down to like around about a 10 stone mark, looked really ill, no hair or anything. And it's what we were talking about is the recovery after. So I'm very grateful to the hospital, and having the treatment and having the doctors on hand. But it's the after. What do we do afterwards? And I remember getting a sheet of paper just with 9 portions of carbohydrates a day, bread, ice cream, pizza, really high calorie food to put this weight back on. And I was like thinking, God, this can't be right. So that delved me into like nutrition and learning more and more about healing and recovery way back then, which had changed my career from what I was doing at the time to what I'm doing now, which is like coaching and what me and Greg do together. So after that, it was just basically left with not really any advice, no real support. And like Greg as well, I went back to the gym and, I couldn't even do a few sit-ups, couldn't even do a pull-up anymore.
Still can't, can you?
Yeah, still can't. So it was just, quite demoralising, and, you do feel a little bit, the moods and a little bit of depression kicks in. And knowing what I know now about gut health as well and how that affects your mood and things, that'll really, we'll talk a bit more about that shortly, and why we created this 6-month recovery protocol. So do you want to share about the educator?
Yeah, so what we've kind of done is we basically have split this into 3 sections, and our protocol is the nutrition, which is obviously for us the most important part, because you've got to build like a happy, healthy, strong body on a foundation of nutrition. There's no point in doing it the other way around. There's no point in having a bad eating habits or a bad eating plan and then trying to fix things with supplements. These things can help, but ultimately the education and your learning around nutrition and actually doing it, because a lot of people know how to do it, but they're not actually doing it. So it's putting that into practice as well. So what we're going to be covering is the nutrition, and then omega oils as well, which we're going to dive into a little bit as well, and then CBD oils, which is your cannabis sativa oils and paste that we use as part of our own recovery and with our clients. So I'm going to start with the oils, and then I'll pass over to Stephen for the omega oil. So I'll start with the CBD. So CBD is really, basically there's 2 types of CBD that you've got at the moment, and that's cannabis sativa and cannabis indica. Now, a lot of people seem to think that cannabis is going to get you high. It doesn't. It depends what plant it comes from. So cannabis indica has higher levels of THC, and that's what gets you high. That's the illegal one. And you've got cannabis sativa, which is naturally produces less THC, and that is the one that we can use legally for our our clients and ourselves for for recovery from cancer. So the reason why it helps with recovery is because it's an anti-inflammatory, and if you've got any kind of inflammation in your body, then that's going to eventually result in the outbreak of certain diseases. Now, I don't know what diseases it could be. It could be anything. But if you have inflammation within your body, you are more likely to contract viruses. Your immune system's not as strong. You'll carry extra weight, extra fluid. The list goes on. So CBD is a great way to take down the inflammation markers in your body, and also it's really great for people with anxiety or sleep problems. So we use a 5% for someone who's got sleep problems, and we use a 10% for someone who's got an inflammation problem, and then we use a 20% for someone who's got a neurological problem. So we don't know what you need to be until we've had a chat with you, but that's basically how CBD works. In terms of general sort of well-being as well, CBD is a great thing to have as a maintenance product, so you don't always have to go like really high with the percentages. So you can actually drop down onto a maintenance product. So if you've got high anxiety, you could start with a 10% and then drop down to a 5% to maintain that kind of anti-inflammatory effect. Now, the reason why we bang on about the anti-inflammatory effects so much is because if you've had cancer before, and cancer's not, it's something that kind of lies dormant, isn't it? It's never really, you're always in remission. It's not ever gone. That's kind of the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah,
So if you're in remission, there's always a likelihood of it returning. So in this period you've got where if you say you've got like a 5-year period to get yourself into the best health and best shape you can be, then why not maximize it with something like CBD? And that's what we use for ourselves. So I'm just going to pass you over again to Stephen. He's going to talk about the omegas and the reasons why we use that as a protocol as well.
Yeah, so omega oils, omega-3 oils, especially DHA and EPA, are a vital, essential oil to have in your body. And in this world of processed eating and processed diets, and especially if you've been exposed to a lot of pharmaceuticals, them oils in your body will be out of balance. And the Health Organization recommend your body should be a 3 omega-6 to 1 omega-3, and the average across the world is way higher than that. So we use a blood test where we can show you the data to see where you're at, and then we can use our essential oils, omega-3 oils, to rebalance your body over our 6-month protocol program, which will reduce inflammation, and will help you restore health as well. It's such a vital product what we recommend to all our clients with our nutrition, because it's just so hard just to get it solely from food. You would have to eat tons and tons of fish a week just to get the right amounts in the body, but then you're exposing yourselves to the lead and the mercury. So that's why we use supplementation for that part of the protocol, to get you back in balance, which then reduces inflammation. And like Greg was saying, all inflammation leads to disease. So if we can get you back in balance with the oils, we can use the CBD to calm the inflammation and for better sleep and reduce all that side. They work together really well. And then we can move into the nutrition, which me and Greg have both well studied in, and we've used these protocols for years, where we can really support the foundation, because what you put in your body is really what you become. And there's a famous saying of "let food be thy medicine," but it's what foods should you eat, what food should you avoid, reducing the inflammation foods, increasing superfoods, increasing healing foods, and putting them all together in a combination where you are nourishing the body and recovering the cells in the body through different nutrition programs. And we have like really detailed, really easy to use cookbooks, protocols.
Everything's basically put into a strategy in terms of the nutrition of what to do each week, what to do every day. And the big thing about the nutrition is that this isn't this isn't part of a training program or a fat loss program. Like everything we teach you to do in these three protocols, you will lose a lot of fat, but that's not what we're actually trying to achieve. What we're trying to achieve is to get inflammation out of your body, and actually create more alkalinity, a healthier state of body, which will transition as a healthy state of mind. Because we're really focused on the nutrition aspect as how is this going to affect your hormones. We're not trying to cut calories and just trying to burn body fat here, which we're looking at what is going to calm your hormone system down, your nervous system. So we're kind of going a lot deeper here than what you'd normally get if you were just talking to a general fat loss coach. That's not what we're trying to achieve. You will get that as a side effect, but that's not our goal for you.
And a big thing, what I love about the nutrition side is getting the gut health right. I know for myself, after having all the pharmaceuticals, before cancer, I could eat anything and always be super lean, trained, and always had abs and everything else, and never bloated. And after treatment, I remembered, even just eating normal foods, I'd get IBS and bloated and everything else. And over the years of, reading lots of different books and doing different courses on this, I realised that my gut health and the bacteria in my gut wasn't really healthy from, maybe all the foods and some of the pharmaceuticals that I were exposed to. So part of that protocol is showing you how to heal the gut in the process through this 6-month program, where then when you have some food what's not necessarily great, you're not going to get that inflammation and get that, the IBS or the gut problems, which I've experienced myself, and I know Greg has as well. So we put that in there as well, it's such an important factor to get your gut health really healthy with certain fermented foods, avoiding other foods, what trigger it just while it gets healed, and using certain protocols to help heal it as well, which we use.
Mm-hmm. So all in all, we basically, to achieve this, we need about 6 months per client. And the reason why we have 6 months is because we place things tangible within the program as well. So we do a test at the start of your program, so we know where you're starting at basically, and we have a consultation. Then halfway through your program, we will have another test done, so that'll be 12 weeks in, and we'll see your progress at that point. So you'll be able to see all your progress, we'll be able to see your progress, and then we kind of restack everything and get back. If we're not on track, then we get back on track, or we know where, we're not working blind with you. We know exactly what needs to be done halfway through the program, and then we do your final test at the end of the program, so we can see how far you've become in terms of health-wise, anti-inflammatory, even state of mind. There's a lot of non-tangible things that it's not all to do with just your body. If you're struggling with, the way you are right now is affecting you in terms of social aspects, like even just going to meet friends or not even wanting to go out your house. Like I remember a time in my recovery where I didn't even leave the house hardly for a year, just because I felt like a bit lost and just like the world was on my shoulders with everything. So it's a kind of a chance to connect with people that are in the same position as you, because we have a lot of people coming on this program. And we want to keep everybody who's, who can talk to each other and have that support mechanism as well, and obviously the connection.
And we have options where you can work solely just with me and Greg, so it's all confidential, or we have like a group community type as well, which we've been creating, which we can, everyone can share their experience through the 6-month protocol. It just depends on how that fits for you individually. But what I do know is when I got the all clear and got the sheet of paper with all the the bread and butter and pizza and things what I was telling you about, if back then I would have been exposed to this knowledge, it would have been such a an easier journey to start with. Because I remember for a few years just like reading lots of different things and not knowing what to actually apply or not what to do, or and then there's things I learned
5 years.
there's things I learned 5 years later which I thought, God, I wish I'd have known that then. And then even 10 years later, more into like the gut bacteria and how that all works in recovery, and healing the gut. So yeah, so over the, in my case, 13 years, there's things I've learned at each stage, which what we're doing in this 6-month program, we're dissecting all that information, what we've learned between us over, an 18-year period in 2 journeys, and combine that together with a 6-month protocol, which is going to really help recover after cancer. And it's something we're both really passionate about. So
the question is really, do you want to get better, and how quickly do you want to get better? Because like Stephen said, it's taken us 5-10 years to get this nailed down. A lot of our own personal experiences trying to put this program together and come up with the right protocol. So are you in a position now to want to get better within the next 6 months? And there's a chance for you to do this with our help and with our strategy and follow the steps. So what we're going to be doing is, if you look below this video now, you'll be able to see an application link button, which you'll be able to click and basically come onto a call with us. So it might, if we need to spend a little bit longer on the phone, we will, but it's a 30-minute consultation call where we can actually talk to you about how you can recover over the next 6 months. Now, there's no obligation to join, but what we would say is, if you are in a position where you're really, really, you're at a bit of a wit's end, this is your kind of last resort, you don't know what you're doing to get better, this is your chance to jump on a call with us and get some clarity around what you should be doing over the next 6 months.
You might even be watching this video, and you might know a friend or a family member, could do with this support. And please, give them the link so they can apply, and we can have a chat, discovery call with them, and see how we can help them.
All right, guys. Thank you very much
for
watching the webinar, and look forward to speaking to you if you're going to book in for a call, and we will say goodbye.